afternoon or good morning whenever you're listening, I guess.
And if that was really loud, I apologize because the mic is right next to Blake's mouth, and Blake's loud already, but I'm just kidding. Not as loud as me, honestly. I have a really loud mouth, but
no, it's all right.
It might not be morning when you're listening to this. It's not morning for us. Right now it's 5 p.m. We didn't even have school today.
Yes,
I know. It is honestly a miracle that this is even getting filmed right now because me and Blake, I got up at 9 today.
I got up at 12. That's crazy.
p.m.
12 p.m.
No, you didn't. 12 p.m.
Okay, I was awake, but I was still in bed, technically.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I hate sleeping in with a passion. Like, I just feel like even I slept until 9, and I feel like my entire day was wasted. Like, I got up at 9, I did some yoga, I watched YouTube for probably 3 hours. Like, I have so much stuff that I need to do today, and I didn't do any of it. And then my boss had the audacity to call me into work. And if she's listening to this, my boss,
she's the best
loved
boss
it. Yeah,
ever.
she's the best boss. I loved coming into work. I loved it. But yep, Upperclassmen Podcast, we are here. And yeah, Blake, I told Blake to get some positive news to talk about. But before we do that, let's recap on last week. Last week, it wasn't the best. You know, I think personally, my biggest thing was me saying like every 2 seconds. So if you noticed that, I am so incredibly sorry. Blake, what do you think?
I was a little shy. But it was the first one, so I think we did pretty good.
Yeah, he's coming out of his shell this time, you know.
Yes.
He's a little scared, a little nervous. I mean, I have a YouTube channel. I've done like a little like podcast series before, so I have a little bit of experience, but not Blake. It was his first time.
No.
But and also, how many views did it get? It got like 150 views.
Yeah.
154 to be exact. Blake watches
Not
it.
to brag.
He watches it like every minute.
I actually did. I was.
And we got some comments from, like, our principal superintendent. Also, I think I mentioned that I didn't know why it was called Teen Leadership Core. And then there was a P, and so one of the, like, administrators or, like, someone higher up in teen leadership, she commented on it and was like, actually, and then she gave the definition. So if you were curious too, go look in the comments. I would try to explain it, but honestly, I don't really remember. It was something with the military, a family, a gathering. But I don't remember, so I'm not going to try to say that I do.
Thank you.
So, Blake, do you want to... I told Blake to get a positive, like, news thing, because I want to try to comment on some positive stuff on the podcast. So I had Blake look up some positive news, something along those lines. So what did you get for us?
Okay, so there's this homeless woman named Lashenda Williams, and they didn't give me a place or, like, anything. I think it was, like, I don't know. But she slept outside of Kroger for a year. And then one day the Kroger manager gave her a job at Kroger's. And now she has a one-room apartment, and her coworkers actually went in there and helped her set up the apartment. And I just thought that was so nice. And I just love that. And so, yeah, I thought that was really good.
Where did you get that?
Where did I get that?
If you don't mind me asking, do you know?
A news website.
News website? All right, that's cool. I think employment right now, obviously, employment is super high in not financial management. In senior SEM, we're talking about the employment rates because obviously, like, to know what career you want to go into, you should know, like, if there's going to be jobs projected into that career. Anyway, and in the last month, the unemployment rate was 14%. And compared to last year at the same time, and it was 3%. So unemployment is high, so high right now. I'm sure there's a lot more homeless people than there have been before. And for Kroger, for the manager, because obviously Kroger didn't, like, sponsor that. Like, honestly, the CEO of Kroger had no idea that happened, probably. But for that lady to do something like that, to give that woman a chance, is honestly, like, such a huge thing. Because if you think about it, like, homeless people, like, I know I've been in the spot before where, like, talking about homeless people, and I'm like, well, why don't they just get a job and then start making money? Yeah. But then I heard someone else say, so these aren't my words, ideas. I heard someone else. I don't know who else said it. But they're like, okay, so if someone's homeless, they're not going to have well, they shouldn't. They might have a phone, but they probably won't have a phone. And then if they don't have a phone, how are they supposed to get a job? How is their employer supposed to contact them to schedule an interview, stuff like that? If they're homeless, they're not going to have a bank. So, like, how is most jobs are direct deposit, so how are they going to get their paychecks? And then it just, like, turns into this thing. So, like, that's honestly huge, like a huge opportunity for that homeless woman. Like, that's super cool that that manager did that.
And I actually didn't mention, but she actually went in and the manager and her did her resume, and the manager actually hired her on the spot too. So I thought that was cool too.
Yeah, so basically, moral of the story, I think, is don't, like, just judge people for what situation they're in at the time. Because honestly, like, who knows why she ended up homeless? Like, no one. But obviously, like, it's not like she was a slum. Like, she had the work ethic. She just got into that situation, got in that rut, but she needed an opportunity to get out, and that's what that Kroger manager did for her. So just keep that in mind. Don't judge people for where they're at in their life because you don't know what's going on. But anyway, so today, it's not just me and Blake. We promised a guest, and you know what? That guest is going to be here. Well, actually, they are here right now. Yeah. But Blake, will you give me a little drum roll?
Yeah.
Not terribly loud. We don't want to hurt anyone's ears. All right, the guest for today, the man who leads us all in leadership class, Mr. Wiles.
Thanks for having me, guys.
The live studio audience is really
oh man, they're cheering so loud.
Where's Anthony? Anthony said he was going to.
Yeah, I know. I think he was peeping in the window a little bit.
Oh, I feel bad.
Yeah, he even told me where you guys were at. So because he was the one that led me here.
He wanted to just sit in, so we would have actually had a live studio audience, but we don't.
Yeah.
But so Mr. Wiles, he is me and Blake. Well, he was already the history teacher for high school at our school, Buckeye Central, but now he just took on leadership class. And so I just want to, first thing, do you feel any stress being the kind of leader of the leader? Like, you are the leader of the leadership class.
A little bit, starting out this year and being the first year ever is kind of a double-edged sword. One, I can't do any worse than anybody who's done it here before because nobody's done it before. So that's an advantage. But on the other hand, I want to try to give it my all and do everything that I can to set this up to where it becomes just a super successful program in the future, and each year, kind of grows and gets better. So there's a little stress there, but like I told you guys, we talked about it like a week ago that, part of being a leader is just being, able to say, yep, I'm going to be a leader and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to put myself out there, and leadership is something I feel strongly about, community service, all these things. I tried to squeeze as much of that into my curriculum and government class and stuff before I had this class. So I think this is an awesome opportunity for me as a teacher to do something that I'm really passionate about, and for the students to hopefully take on that same passion.
Yeah, and honestly, I think I couldn't picture any other teacher doing it at our school. I think you and yourself, you've already set up a really good, relationship and chemistry with your students to, put you into the situation to kind of be that leader. Because I know some teachers, maybe they're known for being sticklers, or they're known, and that's not a bad thing, but they just don't have that same, I feel like students know, oh, if I ever needed anything, I could come to Mr. Wiles. They already have that open mind coming into, one of your classes. So honestly, I think that you taking on the leadership class, I couldn't see any other teacher doing it, basically.
Yeah.
But who actually suggested getting a leadership class? Has it been... Did someone else bring it up? I know you're in close relation with the leadership teacher in Willard.
Yep.
And so is that kind of you were the one who suggested it, or? A
little bit. I talked to him some. I know Mrs. Close did a lot of work on it. She's our guidance counselor. She did a ton of work getting stuff set up. So, again, good friends with the leadership teacher at Willard, who is Mr. Ratliff. Yep. He's actually a football coach here. His daughter's in our leadership group here at Buckeye.
Taylor Ratliff, we talked about it.
Yep. Shout out to Taylor, 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, 2 weeks in a row. People are going to think this is favoritism.
I know, jeez. But yeah, what he's been able to do with that group over there is amazing. Literally, that's what I strive for. If I can do what they're doing at Willard, because he does amazing things over there. The kids are super involved. They do awesome things, service things, veteran things. So yeah, really, he's the cream of the crop.
Yeah, and during our we had a FaceTime with I'm calling them administrators. I don't know what really.
I'll have to look what the actual.
But it was Megan and Mrs. Pocus.
Yep.
Okay, sure.
Yep.
So we FaceTimed them to kind of get in, because it's our first year, first class. We had a little intro. She actually mentioned that Willard was one of the first like
they
sets
were
of
in
groups.
on
So
the
they've been
ground floor. They
Yeah.
were one of the first groups when they first started TLC. They were one of the first schools that was involved with it.
Off the top of your head, do you know how many years ago that was?
Oh, what did they say?
Was it like 16?
It was quite a few. I can't remember what the actual number was. It's been a while that they've been doing it.
Yeah, and it's cool that like it's still spreading. Like it hasn't just kind of lost momentum. Like this is our first year. This is our first year doing it. So like it's still spreading. It's still like getting more widespread. Hopefully it continues to spread.
Yeah, I should have brought some more stats in on how many
No,
schools there are, how much is spreading, and how long they've been around.
No, that Blake should have been it. Come on, Blake.
Oh
What's
my
up
gosh.
with that?
Yeah, I know.
So far, obviously, the coronavirus kind of dampers a little bit of the mood in our class. Did you, when all this was happening, did you know that it was going to affect the leadership class?
So last year, about this time of year, is when we really decided we were going to try to push hard to join the TLC leadership group and bring it to our school. So at that time, I was like super excited, like all the possibilities, all the things that this could be, you know, and what all we were going to be able to do and hit the ground running, you know, right off the bat, first day, and have all this stuff planned. And then coronavirus happened, and I just sat around the whole time we were at home last year thinking, if this is still around at the beginning of next year, like, we're so handcuffed with what we're able to do. But I feel like even though we are handcuffed somewhat, the group so far has been so creative and willing to do whatever we could do to make stuff happen. We're already like 2-3 events in that we've pulled off.
Yeah, not to toot our own horn, but like this podcast is definitely no spread of the coronavirus. Anyway, I cannot spread the coronavirus to you from you listening to me. So that's true. A plus. That is a plus.
Yeah. And the things we've did already, like we went out the first day while the kids were getting off the bus, and we like kind of cheered them on going into school.
Yeah, that was the very first day. Like that, we didn't even meet together as an entire group. That was all over email. Yeah.
Yep.
So for us to pull that together, that was pretty cool.
And we had almost every kid that was in the class showed up like a half hour earlier than they will probably show up for the rest of the year.
Me. I was there, but I didn't show up that early.
To be there and cheer in the other kids. We had music set up and going, and I wasn't sure how well it would go, but I think just looking at the kids' faces, they were like pumped up that there was music going and playing, and and I think you guys had a good time.
Yeah. The elementary kids, they loved it. Middle schoolers, we're gonna have to work on how to get them a little bit more pepped up because they might have been a little bit too elementary for them, but we're gonna break them. We're gonna find a way to break them this year.
Yeah, and not to mention, we also did our fashion show Tuesday.
That was literally just last week.
And we're hyping up the Spirit Week next week.
Yeah, that was what the fashion show was for. We had a motivational speaker come in. His story was great. I told Blake after he got done speaking, I wish that we would have really known ahead of time because it would have been so awesome to get him on the podcast. Because his story was really good. But so we used that opportunity while everyone was in the gym to kind of announce our Spirit Week. So we had the fashion show. Blake, what were you dressed up as for that part?
I was green because
the spotlight
Monday is stoplight day, and so you dress green if you're single. You dress yellow if you're talking to someone or interested in someone, and you wear red if you're dating someone. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of for homecoming, so if there's a date out there for you.
Too bad we're not actually having a dance, but if we were, it kind of would have been cool.
Yes, but it was a good idea, and I dressed as green because I'm single.
Ladies, you all hear that out there?
Yeah. Hopefully,
Blake Homer.
Yeah, Blake Homer. And what'd you dress up as, Kyleigh?
I was Formal Friday. Mm-hmm. We're not gonna get into what all the days of the week are because if you don't even go to our school or you're old, you don't care. But Friday is Formal Friday. I wore my prom dress, and honestly, it was good. For one, it fit. It still fits from last year because people talk about Corona 15. I thought I might have fallen a little victim to that, and maybe I did, but I still fit in the dress, so it doesn't even matter. But I hadn't even gotten to wear it because prom got canceled. Now homecoming's canceled. Mm-hmm. I mean, I wasn't gonna wear my prom dress at homecoming anyway, but it was still nice that I was able to actually wear it in front of people. And I got some compliments about it too, and it made me happy. So if you watched me and then came up to me after and told me that you thought my dress was cute, I appreciated it a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, those were a couple things. So were those the only 2 things we've done so far? The fashion show and then the first day of school thing?
Yeah, and then right now we're working on all the spirit stuff for next week.
Yep.
And then I almost forgot, because we dug so deep into getting that stuff ready, that we also have to plan the tailgate party thing next week too. So we have we got a busy week ahead of us, and missing a day today didn't necessarily help that.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, so speaking of that, do you think in class, have we been kind of meeting the expectations that you were hoping to in class? Like, are we kind of hitting the mark, like it's going, maybe not exactly how you were hoping, because obviously the coronavirus, but is it going as well as you thought it would?
I think in a lot of ways it's going way better than I even expected it to.
Really?
Like, just stuff like this. Like, there's so much initiative that's already been taken by you guys, which is a huge leadership thing. You know, being willing to, step up and say, hey, I got an idea, let's make this happen. And I've had it from, obviously you two with this, but several other kids that came to me with ideas that, hey, let's do this, let's try this. I just had one, what was Wednesday, our last day here?
Yeah.
Today's Thursday. Yeah, Wednesday. Had a student come and said, hey, I got an idea, something I want to do to help out another student in our school. So, again, I think just that aspect of it, that you guys are so in tune with what's going on in the school and leadership in general, and kind of hyped up and ready to, tackle it head on, has been something that I was like hoping it would go that way, but not really fully expecting it to.
Yeah.
So in that respect, it's definitely went awesome. There's really nothing right now that I could say hasn't went well. Like, everything's went really well so far.
Yeah, especially, I just want to mention that for our fashion show assembly thing, we had probably an hour and a half together. Like, it was over the span of 3 days, a weekend. But in class, we had an hour and a half to put together a fashion show. Also, we kind of ran the assembly a little bit. And I just have to say that we pulled it out of our butts, but we did really well just for having that short notice.
Yeah, we got told literally 3 school days or something, 2 school days really before this thing happened, that we had to pretty much do the planning for it.
Yeah, and didn't even get super hard details until the day of.
Yeah, so they really, like I said, you guys kicked butt, getting yourselves rolling. Everybody stayed focused and showed up with what they needed to on a Tuesday after a long weekend, which was awesome. Nobody forgot, so that's a huge plus.
Yeah, I really do think that, I'm just going to speak from my class. I'm not, as close with Blake's class, but, I just know that, I think, personally, there are a lot of super positive, just ready to go people in my class, in the leadership class, that, honestly, I don't think, I know the teachers have already said before that, they've kind of, stated that they think my class has been, they thought no perfect class to start it off with. Our class, because we do have a lot of, notable, people, people who've already, they're just role models, leaders without the class. So it was kind of perfect to start it this way. But I think that there are a lot of kids in my class that have already taken initiative, and I think it's such a perfect fit for this class. And I am excited too to see how the school year goes, see all the things that we're able to do.
Yeah, and just like you just said there, I stated it right off the bat, and a bunch of other teachers and people have echoed the same thing, that this really is the perfect group of students to start this leadership group with. Every class has leaders. There's not a single class that goes to the school that doesn't have leaders. But there are just so many natural leaders in this group that, it's kind of just a huge group of kids that already have tendencies towards this and are energetic and fun. And, I think it works. You guys all work together really well, so it all just kind of meshes to where I think it's going to make a perfect year to start.
Yeah, I do have to say, my class, senior class 2021 at Buckeye Central, we are such close, such a family. Because our class is so, we are already one of the smaller classes at Buckeye, and we are just so close. We definitely, will have no problem working together, and that's that's really exciting.
Yeah, the only problem with that is it's hard to do all the icebreakers that they had set up for us to try to do, because it was all like, hey, get to know the kids' names that are in your class. And I'm like, these guys could probably tell you their name, birthday,
middle name, their mom's maiden name.
Their mom's maiden name, because they all have known each other since they were like 2. So, yeah, a lot of those don't work, so I've had to dig a little deeper to find some of the other fun ones that Kylie's told me I had the wrong names for. And
yeah, I am kind of just, I know the names. Blake, you got anything else to say about leadership before we move on?
I also think it's cool, like, in the future, you're going to build more leaders, too.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, yeah, your class does have a lot of natural leaders, but, you know, upcoming years, we're going to be building a lot more leaders. So I think that's pretty cool, too.
Yeah, that's an awesome statement, because the better we do this year, it's going to set up every future class.
Yeah, because we kind of have to, like, set the momentum.
To have more leaders. Like, if we do the stuff we need to do to kind of show them what a leader looks like and what a leader really needs to do, then they're going to see that and hopefully want to emulate that. So that was a very astute comment.
Yeah, because, like, if we come out and it's, like, kind of wimpy and boring, then, because it's, like, you apply to be in the class. Like, if people don't want to apply, if people don't sign up to do it, then, I mean, what is it? So, yeah, it's kind of a lot of responsibility, but I already think that we've done great. I think that it'll continue to do awesome, and hopefully when my class is gone, and Blake will be the senior.
Yeah.
One of the seniors.
Yes, I will.
And then the sophomores from this year, hopefully we get a good group of them to come up and then, you know, finish what we started. Well, not finish, but continue what we started. All right, so now we're going to go into, I've got more quotes. I had Blake find a positive, because I wanted to switch it up. I thought it kind of lasted too long, me and Blake both going on about quotes that we just looked at that second and didn't really have much to go on. But, so I just found a quote. And so I really liked this one. This is the quote, and I quote, "If you feel lost, disappointed, hesitant, or weak, return to yourself, to who you are. Here and now, and when you get there, you will discover yourself, like a lotus flower in full bloom, even in a muddy pond, beautiful and strong." And honestly, I have to say that this past year, even probably 6 months, has been the biggest 6 months in my life for self-growth and self-discovery. And so I really like this quote because it just talks about at your lowest points, you really just have to turn back to who you are. And I've already spoke on this, not on the podcast, but I've kind of just spoke about the idea that you and yourself and who you are is really the only consistent thing in your life. Yes, you are going to change yourself because obviously everyone changes throughout their life. Everyone grows, even scientifically, every 7 years you replace all of your cells if you didn't know that. So technically, physically, you change every 7 years. But even though you're the one person that's always going to be there in your life, always, obviously. But your conscience, your morals, your values, you are going to have those forever. And yes, they're going to change, but you are the consistency. Your environment's always going to be changing. They say that 90% of your life is I guess you should start. 10% of your life is what happens to you, and 90% is how you react. So you just kind of have to remember that, when you are low, even though your environment might be really bad at the time, just try to look at yourself and just try to grow yourself and try to get past all the bad things, the bad environment you're in, and just really try to focus on yourself. So that's what I have to say about it. I have become such an advocate for self-growth and self-discovery in the past 6 months. I journal all the time. I just love self-reflection. It really just, I truly believe if more people did it, it would make them more at peace with themselves. And I really think it's a good practice to have.
And that's the place where you really got to start.
Yeah.
You got to start by building yourself up and getting yourself, confident in yourself. And again, talking about leadership stuff. If you want to be a leader, you've got to find a way to be happy and confident and pleased with who you are so you can then show that off to other people. So I like that quote too, that, even in your lowest times, look within,
And I know this is kind of on a different track, but just going to talk a little bit about it. That I feel right now, with social media and everything, there is a lot of just negativity going around with body image. And I know that it's a huge thing, especially I mean, I guess I'm a female, so I have to say, like, especially with females, I've noticed it within, like, my friends, my community, and just, like, out there in the community. Obviously, with guys, it has to be the same thing, but it's just super huge, and I really think that you should just really learn to love yourself no matter what. And as long as you keep growing yourself, it will make that love for yourself even stronger as long as you're, like, trying your best.
Absolutely, and I think that confidence is actually a leadership trait, too.
Which is what we talked about last time.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, so keep working on that confidence. Mr. Wiles, Blake said that you maybe had a quote for us. Is that true?
So I told Blake I would share the same quote that I shared with the class because we went through and everybody picked their favorite quote, favorite leadership type quote. So mine is kind of crazy that I've had the same quote that's my go-to quote since I was in high school, and it's actually in my high school yearbook as my quote. And it's from Van Wilder, which is, I wouldn't say the best leadership movie, but the quote I really like, which is, "Worrying is like a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but it doesn't get you anywhere." And I guess that's kind of the way I try to live my life. Like, worrying, another kind of similar quote to that fits with that is worrying doesn't fix tomorrow, it just ruins today.
Yeah.
So, again, why would you sit around and worry about something? Like, sit around and try to figure out how to fix it. Like, don't waste your time worrying about what might happen. Like, go and try to make something good happen.
Yeah, and that kind of goes into what I said before about the 10% of your life is how you react.
Mm-hmm.
And it's 90% how you react, 10% what happens to you. Because, yeah, if you react to everything by just being anxious, worrying all the time, well, anxiety is a different thing, but just being worried all the time, living in, just stress, like it's not going to get you anywhere.
Mm-hmm. It just compounds their problems. So
yeah.
Once you learn to, you give it your best, you do the best you can, and, you live with the results of that. And again, if you know you're doing the right thing, the best you can is usually going to be pretty good enough.
Yeah.
So again, if something goes wrong, you learn from it, you fix it, and you move on and do it again. There's nothing you can do to change the past.
Yeah.
So worrying about the past or worrying about the future, either way, it doesn't really do a whole lot for you. So
actually, that reminds me of, so when I was learning to drive, my parents would freak out because, say I would be a little bit left of center, or like I would get into the rumble strips on the side of the road. My parents would start flipping out, and I would just be so calm about it, and it would like worry them. They're like, "Why are you so calm? Why are you so calm? Like, you're literally about to crash the car. Like, why aren't you freaking out?" And I just would always tell them, I'm like, if I crash the car, There's not really anything I can do. Like, once I crash the car, that's it. And that is, I don't know, it's kind of funny. That just reminded me of that. Because, yeah, like, when I'm driving, like, I don't just, like, panic and freak out when something goes wrong because, like, it literally doesn't help anything. Because I know, like, I'm in control. Like, if something goes wrong, something goes wrong. But, like, other than that, like, there's not really much, like, me screaming and, like, crying at the steering wheel isn't going to help anything.
And it just makes it worse.
It really does just make it worse.
So
you probably cry and scream at the steering wheel when your sister's driving, don't you?
Oh, all the time. Oh my gosh. It's crazy. Sorry, Bailey. We're outing you on this podcast. So we've mentioned characteristics last week, and we've mentioned it a lot in class. What is one characteristic that you believe every leader should possess?
Ooh, one characteristic that every leader should possess. That's a tough one because there's so many that I think are important. I know we talked a lot about integrity last week, and I think that's huge because, and I was kind of thinking about this on the way in, like, what are we going to be talking about? What are they going to ask me? And this kind of ties in with that. Integrity is really like the fact that you are doing the right thing and you want to be, always holding yourself to a higher standard. So on that note, like, leadership is, to me, like something you are, not something you do. Like, you are a leader, you don't act like a leader.
Yeah.
Like, so if you're acting like a leader, then everybody knows you're acting. Like, you need to be a leader. So integrity has a lot to do with that. Like, people see right through fake.
And little kids look up to you a lot. So.
Yeah. And when you got people looking up to you, which you guys do now, and have for a while, but even more of a scope on that now that you're in the leadership group. But the integrity aspect of it, living your life the way you want people to see you, and in a way that you will influence others to do the right thing, and be super positive and do the right thing even when nobody's looking. Like, I think that's an important quality as a leader, and that's kind of the way I try to live my life, like you said at the beginning, which made me feel really happy that, you know, you feel like I'm a teacher that really should be teaching this class, and a teacher that kids feel comfortable with, because that's what I want the kids to see. Like, I want them to see me as somebody who is a leader myself, you know, that I live what I teach. You know, I don't just teach out of the book. Like, I want to portray it and live it and show you that, you know, it's stuff that's important to me too. And seeing that is hopefully being seen that way makes me feel good. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I think that's really cool because, I mean, personally, just from, like, what I've kind of noticed, like, I really don't feel like, I mean, I guess it's hard to say because I'm 17, I'm not an adult, I'm not in that kind of, like, realm, that, like, workplace atmosphere, I guess. But I feel like not a lot of adults are really, like, worried about, like, them being a leader, like, you know? And maybe I could be wrong, but, like, I just see, like, I think it's really cool that you are, like, so passionate about this, because I honestly, like, don't see a lot of adults really, like, caring that much. And, yeah, I just think that it's cool that you're kind of passionate about that. Do you think, like, have you kind of always been this kind of, like, leader throughout your life? Like, in high school, like, how do you think you've definitely, like, grown? Well, obviously you've probably grown since then. But were you this kind of, like, were you on the track to be this kind of person in high school?
I would say, yeah. In certain ways. Like, I was not in the, you know, the big clique of all the popular kids in high school, but it was kind of weird, and I always tell the story, you know, that, you know, in my high school you could tell a lot by who was sitting at what lunch table, and,
yeah.
You know, you had your popular kid lunch table that I never sat at, and then you had your, you know, whatever, all your different groups, and then my lunch table was just this conglomeration of kids from every group.
Yeah.
Like, and I would have teachers ask me, like, how did you get that random group of kids at your lunch table? Like, there's the, you know, FFA kids, and there's theater kids, and there's, like, kids that you wouldn't think would ever mix. And, you know, I think I kind of was the, I don't want to say mastermind or whatever,
but, like, the glue
that stuck it all together, because I had friends from this group and friends from that group, and I wanted to make sure that everybody was welcome. And then I was in a lot of leadership roles in high school too, and all throughout. Like, I was the president of the FFA, I was the president of my 4-H group for I don't know how many years, in honor society and all that stuff. I think I was in student senate in college, and then now, even in my normal life outside of school, I'm the president of Holiday Lakes, which sounds
quite the title.
Sounds way more important than it is.
They call you Mr. President.
It just means that you're the person that everybody yells at when they're upset about something. So, yeah, that's pretty much what I got going on there.
A lot of responsibility there.
Yeah. Not a lot of responsibility, but enough. And again, even in that role, like, I like that more so that I can, you know, show both my government students and my leadership kids now that, like, being active and taking a role in your community and doing those things is an important thing, and you can really impact your community through that. So I like that aspect of it a lot, and then obviously just the impacting of the community that I've been able to do over the last, you know, like 10 or 12 years that I've been involved with that has been pretty cool to see. So yeah, I would say that my whole life I've had leadership traits. I've always been a talker. I can remember like getting yelled at when I was a little kid for talking too much in class, and it pretty much never stopped.
Me and Blake both can relate to that.
So yeah, and that's you know, being a communicator and being verbal. And once I leave here, I get to go announce the senior night for our golf.
Do you do like a different voice when you start announcing?
I don't know that I do a different voice. I don't know.
Do you want to give us a little tidbit?
Yeah. What do you want?
Pretend like you're announcing something. Hello, ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're here for the Upperclassmen Podcast.
Oh, yeah. We have to
get
cut
a clip of that to put at the very beginning.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you think I can't do that, you're wrong.
Now, the crazy thing is, like, I was in theater when I was in high school too, and I was thinking about this earlier too, when I was thinking about the fact that I'm like a announcer for the football games and the basketball and a bunch of other stuff. I can remember the first time, which this was a different era than you guys live in.
Yeah.
So this was like VCR, like hold it on your shoulder video camera era. because I was in theater, and I can remember the first time I watched one of the plays that I was like one of the top leads in the play, and I watched it over, and I looked at everybody in the room, and I was like, is that really how my voice sounds? Because your voice sounds different when you hear it.
No, it totally does. It completely...
When you hear it recorded. So like now you guys, with your smartphones and stuff, I say your smartphones like I don't have one, but
you kids with your
you kids with your smartphones, your iPhones and such, but you guys hear your voice all the time. You're making videos, you're sending Snapchats. Like back then you didn't. So the first time I heard it, I looked around at everybody and I'm like, that's not how I sound. What's wrong with this camera?
Like, are you kidding me?
And everybody's like, yeah, it is. So
yeah, because I know when I started making videos, like for you, when you listened to this, did you think that? Were you like, oh my gosh, is that really how I sound? Or are you kind of like used to it?
I'm used to it because I do plays too.
Yeah.
And I'll watch them back, and so I'm used to my camera voice.
Yeah, because I know when I first started YouTube, I was like, oh my gosh, I was like, this is definitely, I'm gonna have to get used to this.
I need to grow a deeper voice. That's what I was like. I was like, ooh.
I've never had that problem.
Speaking of smartphones and just the new era, do you think social media, like obviously blown up, it's everyone has it. How do you think it's affected like leaders and being a leader? Do you think it's kind of like more of a negative thing, positive thing? Like how do you think it's affected?
I know I used this term earlier, and just the fact that I was getting ready to say that makes me think then, this is going to be my new catchphrase, even though I don't know that I've said it in years. But
yeah.
It's kind of a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Again, because social media can be used as such an amazing tool for things. If you watch like the TED Talks, and there's so many leadership things out there that through social media you find great speeches, great talks, podcasts.
Yeah.
That really, we're living in a time where all that stuff is right at our fingertips. So that's just amazing. But on the other side of that, there's so much temptation to use social media for not so good things.
Yeah.
And doing things that are not very leader-like. So that's why I said it's something that is a amazing tool that could be used for so much good, and a lot of times it is.
Yeah.
And you guys are obviously showing how the good can be brought out of social media. Like this is an awesome thing. But yeah, it has its negative side too. So I guess it all depends. Just like any other tool, it all depends on how you use it.
Yeah.
I think social media is like see then do kind of thing. So if like you see positive stuff, like if you watch TED Talks and all that stuff, you're gonna be more positive and you're gonna like pick things up from those. But if you see negative stuff, you're gonna pick those up too. Yeah. So it's a very like see then do situation. So it's both.
Yeah, and I guess I was more thinking like kind of what you went on at the end is like the action part. Like, does it make being a good or a worse person like easier? Like, does it make it easier? And I think a lot, like, for some of the things, like, hate comments, those are becoming, like, super big. And
it's so easy to hide behind a computer. Like, so many of those people would never go up to somebody's face and say those things.
Never.
Ever. Yeah. And that's a dangerous thing about social media. You get, I call them keyboard cowboys or whatever you want to call them, internet trolls.
Yeah.
Which I've dealt with that through, being the president of Holiday Lakes. That's some fun ones, but whatever.
You get some anonymous messages.
Oh, just people that post stuff on, we've got like a community website, and it's like, oh my gosh, but whatever. But people are so willing to just spew hatred and anger and all of those things online because they think that they're all anonymous and you'll never know it was me, to where it's stuff that they would never do in real life. So in that aspect, it's kind of scary.
Yeah, or even they don't have that like immediate like confrontation from it. So like they're not worried about like it, like personally, like obviously I would never like leave a hate comment on anything, but it would be so much easier. Say I wanted to just hate on Blake, to send him a message just going off and off and off than it would to just go up to his face and actually say those things to his face. So I do agree with you with it being a double-edged sword, because you can post, like I know so many of my friends, they're always just posting positivity, like let me know if you need anything, like they're just using their platforms to spread positivity and love, but then there's like the other people who just spread drama and like I said, leave hate comments. And so yeah, I do think it's definitely a double-edged sword. In the end, I can't say if it's more of a positive or more of a negative. Personally, I wish, like obviously social media is like a huge tool, like whatever, it's really entertaining, like it's cool to have. But I wish that I did get to experience like kind of an adolescence without all the tech, like being able to just, most of your experience with your friends was in person, and you always had to be hanging out instead of just like all of everything being online personally.
Yeah, it was definitely, anybody my age or older definitely lived that life for most of their life. I didn't get my first cell phone until I was in college.
Yeah.
I told the story in one of my classes the other day that when one of my friends in college got a computer that was supposed to be Wi-Fi, to where he told me he didn't have to hook it into the wall to get the internet. I was like, dude, that's never even going to happen. Like, they just sold you a computer with something that's never going to happen. So it was definitely an era I lived in, and thinking back, like, so many of the things were a lot more peaceful and calm, but there's so many advantages that you guys have with having that.
For sure. Like, being able to communicate with people from across the globe.
Yes.
Like, my friend, she had an exchange student last year, and we just got really close with her. And being able to talk to someone who literally lives in Spain every single day, like, it's like, I mean, it's definitely like she left. It's sad. But, like, at a point, like, I'm still in contact with her. Like, we still talk, like, almost every day. And, like, if it just weren't this era, like, that just wouldn't be the case. She would leave, and maybe I'd send her a letter every now and then, or maybe I'd go meet up with her sometime. But, like, that would be the end of the relationship. Yeah,
friend circles, I think, have grown so much.
Yeah.
Because of this. I saw it even with my little brother. Like, he was friends with, and he was like 5 years younger than me. So that was all it took, was the time difference. But he was friends with kids from, like, every school in the area. And I'm like, how do you know all these people?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
He's like, I'm connected with them on, Facebook.
Yeah, I'm not as, like, socially networked. MySpace.
You don't even know what that is, but yeah.
Yeah, that was long. That was, like, that's, like, to me, I'm like, okay, Facebook is, like, for grandmas. But, like, MySpace is, like, actually for, like, grandmas.
I'm gonna be
honest.
Like,
the great-grandmas.
I don't even know what MySpace is. I'm just sitting here with a blank.
Really? You can't think of anything when you think of MySpace?
Nope.
Oh, my gosh. I'm the cutting off point. It's my generation.
I have no clue what that is. I grew up.
It's this year's seniors.
Yeah.
I grew up.
I never had one, but
with Facebook, I probably had that when I was like 5.
No, I don't have Facebook, but I was never like huge into social. Like, most of my friends, they got like Snapchat and Instagram, like really like in middle school, like early into middle school. But I just was never like. I don't like pictures. Like, I mean, obviously, like I've like grown into it like a little bit more, but I don't like pictures. I don't like texting people that much. But I didn't get, like, my first social medias until, like, I think it was 8th grade when my friends finally, like, convinced me. And I was like, you know what? Fine. And now I'm addicted. But actually, I have just recently deleted all of them because, being, like, I'm a senior and I really have to really focus on the ACT because I want to get into this college and I have to fill out scholarships and actually fill out college admissions. And then on top of being in, like, some harder classes this year. So I just decided to go away with it until maybe, like, next year sometime. That's just, so I guess that kind of goes back on everything I said. But I was really addicted to them, I'm not even going to lie. Like, 4 hours of screen time a day.
Oh, yeah.
It's just really sad. Not anymore, though.
And I'm going to be honest. I probably had more than 4 hours of screen time today, but I'm working on it.
Oh, today you got to give yourself a little bit of a break.
Oh, well, let's just say every day.
We had a fog day.
Let's just say every day.
Which, is that even a fog day? Is that, like, you have snow days, but, like, fog days? Like, my cousin in Wyoming... She gets so frustrated because they've never had a day off because of the weather, like, ever. And they will literally get like 3 feet of snow, but they're like, no, you still have to come to school. Like, never, ever. Like, it's not like in the West you just don't get this kind of weather. You get it worse, but they're just like, find a way.
They did back in the day too, because oh my God, my grandpa goes on and on. I had to walk to school barefoot in like 3 inches of snow. And stuff like that. I don't know.
Both ways.
He's probably over exaggerating, but they had to do that back in the day too.
That's funny. All right, so last question. So as a teacher, do you have really any because you've gone through, how long have you been a teacher? Like what, over 10 years maybe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pushing 20 years now.
Really?
Oh my gosh.
He's old. Did you know that he was old?
We'll say I'm on year 16 or 17 this year.
16 or 17? Those are big numbers. So, I'm like literally 17 years old.
Yes.
Yeah,
you've had your career as long as I've been alive.
Yeah, you started when I was born, right?
Yeah. My first year was 2005, so what year were you born?
2004.
Okay, I was going to say, you're not
Well, actually, I started in the fall of 2004, so.
Yeah, I was born in February, so.
There you go. Just beat me.
Yep.
But anyway, so you've seen a lot of different, generations go through high school. And I just have to ask you, do you think, like, do you have any advice of, like, things, like, maybe not necessarily things, but, like, people, attitudes, like, I don't know, bad habits that you think that high schoolers should really try to, like, stay away from? Like, what are some things that you've seen that have really, like, consumed students that you think, like, whether it be a certain type of attitude, a certain type of clique, like, is there anything that you think that you can advise younger kids to kind of steer away from in high school?
So the simple one with just using the word steer away from, this is one that you probably heard from your parents. If your parents tell you, I don't want you hanging out with those people, it's because your parents are probably way smarter than you, and they know that the people we hang out with, we generally tend to share behaviors with.
Yes.
So
I actually...
surround yourself with good people, and you'll be amazed what that does for you. So the more you can surround yourself with good people, like, you will make better choices. Instead of having somebody trying to convince you to make bad choices, you'll have somebody trying to convince you to make good choices, which makes those choices really easy.
Yeah, I just recently, I don't remember it was on I saw it on social media, but I don't remember who said it, but they were like, whoever you surround yourself with, like, that's who you become. Like, if you're surrounded by 4 idiots, you're the 5th idiot.
Yeah.
Like, if you're surrounded by 4 businessmen, women, you'll be the 5th one. Like, if you surround yourself with millionaires, you will be the 5th millionaire.
And
like,
I
just
think
eventually.
That's one of the advantages we have here at Buckeye. Like, that's one of the things I've said forever, that we've got, like, every school has good kids. Every school has bad kids. I think we just have way more good kids than bad kids. So a lot of those middle kids get pulled up. Like, the good kids,
yeah, that's best case scenario.
Snatch them and pull them up with them. And the number of kids that aren't as good at kids, they aren't as strong to pull that middle group down, and a lot of those start getting pulled up into that middle group and then get pulled up. So, like, I think here you just see that upward rise of kids a lot, and that's, attributed to a lot of our leadership, our seniors pulling kids up, everybody.
I totally agree with that, because I came to Buckeye Central in 8th grade, and as soon as I got here, I noticed that people pull people up, people support each other, and I think that it influenced me a lot to make me a leader now. Before that, I was not a leader. So I think you're right on that one.
Yeah, and that makes me really, like, happy to hear, because I've never been to another school. I've never been in another, like, environment. So just to hear that, like, because, like, obviously where I'm at, I just feel like it's the norm. Like, this is what a normal school's like.
And it's not.
Yeah, but just to hear that, like, our school is more welcoming and more accepting and more positive, like, that just makes me feel better. Makes me appreciate, honestly, like, where the town that I've grown up in.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is definitely a school you should be proud of. Like, I've been here for 11 years now. Plan to be here for way more.
Forever and ever.
Forever and ever, until I can go retire and sit on a boat and relax.
The boat.
The boat.
Yes, the boat. Yeah.
Yeah. So I got one last thing I wanted to ask you. We did it last week. Who's someone that's had who's someone who had an impact on you?
I would go with my dad. I definitely emulate my dad in most things I do. My dad graduated high school. I think he went to college for, like, I don't know, like a month or something. Not long.
Yeah.
Pretty much just to go party with his buddies, I think. But yeah. But literally, I think he was one of the smartest guys I've ever known. And smart in the fact that he was just such an amazing problem solver. And he just only asked for help when he absolutely needed it. He figured out and took it upon himself to try to figure out how to fix anything he could fix. He was a farmer, so he had to.
Yeah.
And I think that I've kind of taken that and molded it into my life as much as I could, where I, try to figure out ways to make things better and fix them, and so just so much of what I do is to try to, emulate what he did, and yeah.
I love that. At least that was original, and he didn't say his grandma, like us.
Yeah, I could have just said my grandma.
My grandma
too. But I really like that, because it reminds me a lot of my parents. Like, my parents, both of them only had their GEDs. And my mom told me that, like, one of her biggest thing was at 19, like, she was, like, the manager of, like, a Domino's. And, like, her thing is, like, 'cause she didn't really have the education, because that's just not the path that she went down, like, to go to college and that. So, like, she just had to, like, work hard and start at the bottom and work hard to get her way up. And that's what, obviously, she doesn't still work at Domino's, but, like, that's what she's had to do at every job she's at is start at the bottom and work her way up. And, like, that's something that I really, like, try to, emulate. Even though I do have to say, this is one of my biggest flaws, I think, is that I am, like, yeah, I'm, like, going to go to college and, like, I'm going to get, like, a good job. So, like, right now, like, obviously, like, at my job, I really do think, like, where I lack the most as, like, a leader, like, is at my job. Because I'm, like, I'm here to get paid. Like, I'm just going to, like, slack off and, like, I'm going to get paid either way. And I think for myself, like, I need to really, because, like, also, like, my friends aren't there. Like, it's not like I really feel like anyone's watching me and, like, there's really anyone that I need to be, like, influencing there. It's just kind of, like, me, and that goes with integrity, too. But I just kind of, like, slack. I think that's my biggest point of improvement right now in my life is really being a leader, like, everywhere. Like, I still need to try my best and work my best at work, just like my mom did from the ground up.
Well, everybody, this has been episode 2 of the TLC podcast, the best one, the only one.
Yeah, I think it went well.
I do too. I am so glad to be on here. Like, I love this. Like, I think you guys are awesome. I think what you're doing is awesome.
we do too.
I'm just kidding.
And this was fun. Like, I enjoyed it. I enjoy talking and hearing you guys and hearing your thoughts. That's what, that's the part of my job that I love. Like, figuring out lesson plans is the part that I don't despise it as much as grading. But, but dealing with you guys, talking with you guys, like, that's part of my job I love. So this is like vacation for me. This is fun.
Yeah.
And I know, because honestly, you do feel like a little, like, anxious nervousness, like, when you, like, start recording and stuff. But so I just know I, like, rambled so much and I didn't really know what I was talking about sometimes. So just, like, to actually hear it back, I'm gonna be like, oh my gosh, you even said that? Like, I don't even remember what I said 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, this has been the second episode.
We will see you guys next Friday.
Yes, period.
Period.